Thank you for joining for another how-to video in the how-to video series. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We'll be going over a new product for my channel. We're going to go over Deployment Solution. So Deployment Solution is part of the ITMS and CMS suite. It's similar to Ghost in that it has agents, it's managed. You manage agents, you can create images and deploy images. However, the ITMS suite as a whole has a whole plethora of other things that can be done. Software management, patch management, inventory management, asset management, all sorts of different management things in addition to deployment solution. So deployment solution is really one cog or one lever in the ITMS suite. And so there's a lot of similarities to ghosting because actually Ghost executable is being created to do the imaging. The Windows PE is in place, Pixie booting is similar. A lot of the things are similar, but they're very much different places to perform the different actions. Today, we're going to go over adding a Preboot driver. So one of the things that is noteworthy is why would you need to add a new Preboot driver? When you Pixie boot a machine or boot its automation folder, it pulls an IP address from the DHCP server and you're then up and going. The Pixie ROM is then compatible and is pulling the IP and taking care of the negotiation. But once you're actually into Windows PE, which Windows PE is what happens, that's where automation, or Pixie, when we Pixie boot, that's Windows automation and is based on Windows PE. So when that WIM file is delivered and booted to, then it needs to have Windows drivers so that the network card can be run properly at that Windows level. So you can actually get Pixie booting but still not have the network drivers. And so some people, if they're not familiar, will go, well, Pixie boot's fine, so I must have drivers, but that's not quite true. Pixie ROM is successful, but the drivers in the Windows are not present. So hopefully that makes sense, and I'll quit going on about that. Pretty straightforward. One thing that the documentation here is not so clear on, and I'm making a request that the documentation be updated. The drivers that we're browsing to need to be a .zip or a .cab file, and that is not stated here, but I will make sure that we do that with our drivers so that you can see it. No, first things first, we need to have a driver that we can add. So if we go over to
Dell.com and then go to their support page, I'm looking for a Dell 7470 recently, so we'll use that as our example. It is a all-in-one.
And there it is. And so you have an Optiplex Dell 7470 all-in-one that we're looking for drivers for. Drivers and downloads. We'll go down here. I'm going to change the category to be network only to make it a little bit easier. And you can see here we have our Intel PCIe Ethernet controller. So we know it's not the Bluetooth, we know it's not the Wi-Fi, or either of these two Wi-Fi. If you're not sure which network card you need and your model comes with 3 or 4 different options for network cards, maybe it comes with a Broadcom, maybe it comes with a Realtek, maybe it comes with an Intel, and all 3 of them are selected. On your client machine, when it's in Windows, you can run MSInfo32. There we go. From the MSInfo32, you can then go down to, well, there's lots of good stuff. You can tell us what model we have, what hardware is running. You can see I'm working with VMware component, and then we're going to go to network and adapter. Now, in our adapters, we're going to have a bunch of different adapters, and it's going to be important to figure out which one we actually are looking for drivers. So this VMware machine was configured with an Intel Pro 1000 network card, but there's no IP information, so this isn't the active one. If this was my client, I would not be looking for drivers for this. There's several others in there that are not network card based. So here's our kernel debug. We've got a SATA-P adapter. We've got tunneling adapters. But down here, get a little further, we got the VMX Net3 adapter, and indeed it has an IP address, subnet, all that information then is all being provided, so we know this is the active one that we're working with. So that's how you would do it on a client machine if you weren't sure which one it is. Also, if you need to, you can file and save, and this can be saved as an NFO file, and with the NFO format you can open it when you go back to your desk, or if you submit it to support, you can then open it when it's in that NFO format. So cancel, don't need that. So we do know that this is the driver based on the only one available and knowing about that machine. The problem that we have from the point of view of the deployment solution or Ghost is that the drivers come in as a package and are not something that can be used by either Ghost or by deployment solution. So the good news is we can, on this package, run it and it'll give us the option to extract. Some packages, though, if we right-click and drag, then we can use a tool like 7-Zip to then extract the files here. This particular one is not the case. It doesn't. It just extracts to an MSI. So we'll go ahead and run it. Probably the MSI has a command that we could then extract with, but built into this Del package, which is great, they actually have an extract option. So I've already made this all in one 7470 folder here. So we'll just go ahead and go to that and extract it right there. If not, we could make a folder. Now we're going to go look inside of here. Okay, and we're done. Close. Good. Back to here. So in here, we have our production and our different OSs, and then a fair amount of different drivers. We open up the INF file. With Notepad++, we can then see information about the driver, which cards it fits, the PCI VEN and DEV. So VEN is 8086, that's Intel. Vendor device, it fits the 1502 and 1503 network cards. And then down in here we have some very specific network cards that it fits. And this is where things get to be problematic. Sometimes you'll have a network driver that doesn't fit the subsys, but if your network card is proprietary enough that it requires the specific subsys, it can be very difficult to find one that matches very specifically to the subsys level. So that's probably too much info than what's needed, but we'll go ahead and close it. So here we are. One of the things with adding drivers to DS that's different than adding drivers to Ghost is they have to be in a zip file. So I'm going to add all of these files in the Windows 10 64-bit, because that's what I'm working with, is Windows 10 PE 64-bit edition. And I'm going to go ahead and just add to a archive. It does need to be a zip file, so we're going to change it to a zip. We can actually have cab files and zip files, so if your drivers that you download come in a cab, they may work out for us. And we'll go ahead and OK, and now we have a zip file. So back to our console. So back to the KB, we go to Settings, Deployment, Driver Management, and then in the Driver Database Management, we click on the Preboot. So let me show you that. Under our Settings, under our Deployment, under our Driver Management, if we were adding deploy anywhere drivers, then we could do that here. Same thing needs to be zipped, then we would add it from here. And we're working with Preboot though, so we're going to go here and add. Now it still says driver files, but it does have to be a zip. So keep that in mind. Also make sure that your architecture type is correct. So mine are 64-bit, they are Windows PE, and I now have a zip file that I can go browse to. So I'm going to go ahead and select the zip file, tell it OK. File you selected contains archive content. Do you want to extract it? Yes. Do the add. All right, so we're able to take a look here. The status updates, added drivers, driver listing is in progress, and hence will reflect on the console in approximately 5 minutes. So we can go ahead and close here. It will take a while for this list to update, and sometimes the driver name that's in the file doesn't quite match up with what we're expecting to see here, at least what I've expected to see here. So if we want to confirm that the files have been added, that's kind of So if we go into your system, and depending on where you have it installed to, so on our machine it's on the data drive, program files, Altiris, we just kind of drill down, deployment, and then we go into the BCD, boot disk creator, then we go to Bootwiz, we go to platforms, and then WinPE is what we're working with here, and we're doing the 64-bit is what we added them to, and then drivers. And then here we can see all of the standard drivers, and there's a bunch of them in this folder, and that's neat. But what we really want to see is the custom drivers and files that are in there. So you can see here are the different drivers that have been added. So today, I paused it for a break and then back, so you'll notice my timestamp's off by a bit here for checking on the files. But they were added today earlier when I was starting the recording. And then quite a bit earlier, about a year ago last year, then the VMX.NET 3 driver for VMware were added. So we can see these have successfully added each driver in its own folder. If we look inside each folder, then we have the various different files, the CAT, the INF, the sys, then some other files that we've created to go along with that. So we'll close this. So now that we've confirmed that the drivers are added into the custom folder, we're back at the driver database management. Drivers don't always show up here based on the names that make sense. If we go in here and just search for Intel, we've got a whole bunch of them with various different, just service name is what's listed. Anyway, they don't always list here the way I think that they would. So that's why I like to check that they're in the custom folder. If they're in the custom folder, then we know that they're in the list. So now that we've confirmed that they're in the custom folder, we're going to go ahead and run a couple of different tasks on the task scheduler to make sure that the notification server then is updating everything to the package servers if you have a distributed environment. If you have a very small environment, it's not as important, but we're going to go for all the steps. So we'll go here to Task, Scheduler, and we'll scroll down to the NS, and there are 3 of them that we want to run. The NS.Package Distribution point. I just make them bigger. There we go. So there's 3 of them here listed for package, and we just want to go ahead and run each of those. And we'll give it a moment, let it finish its thing. All right, so they are done running. The task is only just kicking off the event, so if we have a large environment with lots of different packages waiting, it could take quite some time for those to actually finish. If you were to go to the package server and you wanted to confirm that the new version of the BDC was received, you can verify that under the package server tab of the semantic management agent on that site server. So once the packages are updated, what we'll need to do now is recreate the Preboot environment. So let's close out of here. So we're going to go to Settings and then All Settings, Deployment, and Manage Preboot Configurations. And here are our Preboot configurations that we have here. And any of them then that we want to add this driver to, get this made a little bit bigger here, we will then need to go ahead and recreate Preboot environment. Yes, I want to do that. And I also want to do the Win10 for iPXE since we have both on this server. There we go. And then we wait again. We're just waiting for the run command, or play, I guess, is what this looks like to me. We're waiting for that to go back to a checkbox so that we can then use these packages. My status is now updated. I did close out and reopen it. I don't know if it would have showed up quite properly if I hadn't closed out. I was just impatient and was clicking around. And so anyway, heads up, you may need to close and reopen. Now, take a look at the state button here. And this will tell you which of your packages are on which servers. Now I only have one PXE server, or NetBoot service as Altiris notification server likes to call it, and you can see then that they are all ready to go here. So that lets me know that that we're good. So anyway, hopefully this is a helpful video that tried to go over the things that are important, and if there's any questions, leave them in the comments. Also remember that we have the Symantec Connect forums, and that with the Connect forums, we can have folks that are outside of support also answering questions and helping each other out, and is quite a useful resource. So thank you for the time, and we'll talk to you soon.